I started to think about convocation and all that it entails. The mostly hushed conversation before the ceremony, the Hogwarts-like procession of faculty into the chapel, and the beautiful music led by Miss T. I started to think about the chapel space and all that has transpired in this building, with everything from celebrations in times of joy to vigils in times of need. Every ceremony and every action in this chapel comes from a personal and collective desire to journey in love and service. That's what I've been asked to speak about today, service. Service is a large part of many of our lives, but we rarely pause to truly consider what service is. According to the dictionary, service is the action of helping or doing work for someone, or an act of assistance. In my ever so humble opinion, this definition is woefully inadequate and does not even begin to capture the essence of true service. Being the English student that I am, I would like to propose my own definition of service. According to the Dictionary of Virtue, service is potentially redefined as imparting or sharing passion for a cause with the ultimate goal of bettering the life of another. When we think of service, we often think of doling out food in a soup kitchen or ringing bells for the Salvation Army. While this work is incredibly valuable, it is certainly not the limit of what service can be. Often, it is the smallest acts of service, the ones that cannot be logged on a transcript for community service hours, that are the ones that carry the most weight in our lives. We have preconceived notions about the forms that service takes, and I'd like to explore some of the acts of service that I've witnessed that diverge from the quintessential. Every summer, I volunteer with others to help my coach offer free tennis practices for Kohala youth. My coach's work is completely volunteer-based, and he pays for rackets, prizes, and equipment for the kids out of his own pocket, not to mention the hundreds of hours he spends on the tennis court. He's a personal hero for me, and his selflessness is something that I strive to emulate on a daily basis. My friends and I refer to summer tennis as hooligan practice, with 20 to 30, 6 to 12-year-old rambunctious kids armed with tennis rackets, hitting balls in every direction, and taking special delight when a ball accidentally hits a volunteer, especially Hayden. As I spend the summer in an environment that is so purely fun, I sometimes feel selfish helping because I enjoy it just as much or more than the kids I'm coaching. One of the boys I volunteered with stands out in particular. He has a learning disability and is often unruly, despite having a great heart. He's definitely not an athlete and usually smashes the ball rather than trying to actually swing correctly. I encouraged him and tried to make him feel welcome and included. One day, he managed to hit 4 balls over the net in a row, his personal record. His grin spread from ear to ear, and his self-confidence and joy were contagious. After practice that day, he walked up to me and handed me a red vine from his small stash of candy that he had earned. With his ridiculous, toothy grin, he said 2 infinitely small and infinitely powerful words: "Thank you." That was one of the most profound moments of my life, and it occurred on a tennis court. Typically, as a volunteer, I would be considered the one performing a service. But in that single, tiny, wonderful moment, his service was greater than I could have ever imagined. He imparted and shared his passion for a cause with the goal of improving the life of another. Those 2 elements are what constitute my reformed definition of service. He did his best to articulate his gratitude and tried to better my life, and he did. I've been a part of the HPA community for 13 years, and it has also transformed my life in ways I could have never imagined. And I owe it to all of you, the people who make this place the home that it is. Whether you know it or not, whether it was conscious or unconscious, you have all performed a great service. You have all imparted or shared your passion for HPA with the ultimate goal of bettering the lives of those around you. No matter how big or small my personal connection has been with you, whether I met you on the first day of kindergarten or at the beginning of this year, know that you have made an impact. A great philosopher named Gandalf the Grey once said that some believe that it is only great power that can hold evil in check. That is not what I have found. I have found that it is in the small deeds of ordinary folk that keeps the darkness at bay, small acts of kindness and love. This quote does not only apply to hobbits, it applies to each and every one of us. And that's what I'll remember about HPA. Not the outcomes of final exams, how many hours of community service I logged on my transcript, or even the conspicuous lack of dessert in the cafeteria. I'll remember all of you and the overwhelming kindness and service that I've experienced. I'll remember Kate Sensenig and Louisa Dugan making space for me at the already packed lunch table. I'll remember Oliver's inspirational assembly speeches, Erica's unfaltering belief in our class, and Jonas giving me the latest stats on the basketball game. I'll remember Sally Wu inviting me to play Chinese chess with her friends in the dorms. I'll remember hiking in the hills with my AP Lit class, sharing time together as we read Yeats's poetry. I'll remember seeing the senior swim poster that my teammates made. I'll remember Justin Perry, who never fails to say hello to me. Of course, we would not be who we are without the incredible faculty and staff who dedicate their lives to this school and provide us with immeasurable service on a daily basis. I'll remember Miss D, always willing to tutor students in her geeky math shirts, but never afraid to yell at you in order to keep you humble. I'll remember Mr. Spencer, trying to be cynical, but being kind despite himself. I'll remember Mr. O'Leary, diligently photographing every sporting event and every community activity on campus. Are you still here, Mr. O'Leary? I'll remember Mr. Braithwaite, inspiring students and athletes to both embrace our blessed existence and beat Kealakehe in soccer. I'll remember Auntie Joanne at the guard gate, smiling and waving enthusiastically as we drive onto campus far too early for morning assembly. These small moments of service come together to form something much greater, something wonderful. These moments have created a space where people are encouraged to explore and try new things, and they are willing to do so because of the acts of kindness and service that occur every day at HPA. I would have never imagined myself performing a Shakespeare monologue or hiking into Halape, but the love that I have felt from HPA has helped me to become my best person. You have taught me to laugh more and recognize the countless blessings that I have received, and you've inspired me to try to pass that same service on to others. Mr. Natzel loves to pin inspirational quotes down at the pool, and I have always loved reading them. He put up a new one by Parker Palmer, which says that we must cultivate a beginner's mind, walk straight into our not knowing, and take the risk of falling and falling again and again, and then getting up again and again to learn, and that's the path to a life lived large, in service of love, truth, and justice. This is what the HPA family has done for me, and that's what I hope I've done in some small way for HPA. I have walked straight into not knowing, completely unaware of how many things I could not hope to understand. I have fallen and fallen again and again, and your service and kindness have helped me to get up again and again, to keep learning and keep growing. Because of that, I feel that I can see the path to a life lived large, one in service of love, truth, and justice. So my challenge to you is this. Think of all of the acts of service that other people have done for you, small acts that didn't particularly seem like service at the time. If we recognize the actions of others and impart or share our passion for HPA in order to better the life of someone around us, we will truly understand service. We will recognize the talents that we have been given, and we will become better people. There are differing perspectives on whether one person can truly change the world. I don't know that any of us will cure cancer or end world hunger, but I do know that any one of us has the ability to profoundly impact the life of the person sitting next to you. To that one person, that can change the world. Their world. That service is something extraordinary, and that's what we should strive for. And in the immortal words of Katniss Everdeen, thank you for your consideration.